Welcome to the SBCA podcast, Component Connection, where we explore the people, ideas, trends, and innovations shaping the structural framing industry. Regardless of how you touch this industry, we're glad you're here. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Component Connection. My name is Abby Langenberg, Director of Business Development and Member Engagement for SBCA, and I'll be your host for this episode. I'm joined today by Kenneth Sewell, co-founder and CEO of Cadynce Software, and we're going to talk a little bit about their innovation that was chosen for the SBCA Innovation Grant. So welcome, Kenneth.
Hey, great to be here.
So you guys were chosen for your Cadynce AI estimator and workflow for component manufacturers. So for people who may not be super familiar with your company, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So here at Cadynce, we take AI estimates and we connect it to the entire bid process so that speed turns into more wins with less chaos.
I love that. So what was your initial reaction when you found out that your innovation had been chosen?
Yeah, we were pretty excited. We're fairly new to this trade industry, right? We really joined last summer and we went to the first show in Ohio last year. And then really around the beginning of the year is when we really kind of came up with this idea for using AI to create the estimates. And so it's been a pretty busy time for us. And we applied for the award and we're pretty excited when we got the news not long ago that we were one of the winners.
So what problem were you trying to solve and what makes your solution unique? Because people will be able to come to BCMC and see you guys there, right? That's one of the things that you receive as an innovation grant recipient is a booth at BCMC. So what are you kind of excited to show people that your solution is offering to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think everybody can agree that bidding is chaotic today, right? But at Cadynce, we feel that without a process tied to those AI results coming back, that bidding faster just makes the chaos worse. And there's a lot of companies that are starting to, dabble in AI. They're sending plans up to ChatGPT. There's even some other companies exploring using it, right? But I think getting all of those results back and not having a great place to put those results is really going to make things a little bit murkier and more challenging. And so that's really what we're trying to solve here at Cadynce is just really to have that full life cycle, right? To be able to take the bid and be able to bring that data back, to be able to leverage, years of historical data. Most of the companies that we talk to on a daily basis, they've got years of data just sitting around in file cabinets and it's not being leveraged and used. And so that's what AI is able to really bring to the table is to organize and really make use of that data to create stronger, more accurate estimates and then be able to follow that process all the way through to actually win more jobs. And so it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, if you can do an estimate really fast. If you don't win the estimate, it doesn't really solve the problem. And so that's what we're trying to solve is both to be able to quote faster, but also actually win more jobs in the long run.
So was there a moment or maybe a customer that you guys talked to that inspired this innovation? And how did your team evolve it from concept into a product that actually works?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's actually happened for us at the show last year in Omaha. We attended that first show and we walked around, we talked to a lot of customers. And as some of those conversations that we had, there's one guy I can think of, I won't mention his name here because I don't probably have permission to mention him, but he actually said that he had 15 years of data just sitting around in file cabinets. And he was looking for somebody to help him make sense of that data and to be able to leverage it. And so we came home from that show and really kind of took that to heart and really started to kind of deep dive into what we were already building, right? Cadynce was already building a bid workflow solution. And we've got several trust companies that use our solution today. But when we're really starting to think about, hey, how can we really move the needle here in this space? It became, what if we use to create that initial estimate and then, be able to drive that all the way through our process. And so that's what we really kind of went to bat to try to create, and pretty excited that we're ready to release that pretty soon.
Yeah. So what I hear is that you guys spent a lot of time basically canvassing, right? Of getting that information and kind of figuring out what to do with it. So what were the biggest lessons or challenges your team encountered along the way? Because it's not always super easy to take a bunch of data in and then figure out how to leverage it for your product.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think you're right. One of the things that we really did, and we still do on a, daily basis is, you got to listen to your customers, right? We've had, probably more than 100 conversations with component manufacturers, asking them what they're missing. Like, to be clear, I want to clear this up for anybody who's curious. Cadynce is not a design tool, right? We are not building a new design tool. We're not replacing a design tool, right? We really kind of layer on top of those existing tools and try to make this idea of tracking and sales a lot, rich and more successful. And so having those conversations with a lot of those guys and understanding kind of what gaps they felt existed, we're trying to fill in and plug some of those gaps. Again, we're not trying to, redesign another, MyTech or Alpine or somebody like that. We're really focused on, trying to provide value in what we offer. And so having those conversations with a lot of different, respected leaders, understanding what they need, and then trying to build what they're asking for has been our mantra.
So what does being recognized through the SBCA Innovation Grant program mean for your company, and what opportunities has it created?
Yeah, it's been really exciting. We've seen a really big uptick in people reaching out to us. I mean, the last year we've done a lot of outreach, right? Calling people, reaching out to customers. It's really fun and exciting when some of those customers you've been trying to reach start to call you back and start to call you because of something they heard. And so, that's been pretty exciting. And we're really looking forward to seeing what the show's going to be like, having, the innovation booth there with the other winners, and just experiencing that excitement around innovation in this space.
Yeah, so you touched on it a little bit, but as your team is kind of prepping for BCMC, what are you most excited to share with attendees, and what do you hope they take away after visiting you at your booth?
Yeah, that's really something we've thought long and hard about, right? With just having one major show per year, we really feel like this is kind of our moment to shine. And what we've been working on so hard for the last, 6 months, we'll have that opportunity to kind of share that with really a target audience, and having a booth for the first time at the show is really excited too, and hope that everybody gets a chance to come by and spend a minute with us and talk and let us show them kind of what we've been building. We're really excited about that opportunity.
So who do you think will benefit most from your innovation? Who is your target audience, if you will, and what kind of conversations are you hoping to have with that audience during BCMC?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there'll be a lot of people interested in what we have to offer, but I think the team that's really going to see the most benefit will be really the general managers, the director of operations, the owners, the executives of these component manufacturing companies who really kind of see the big picture, right? They want to be able to bid more work. They want to win more work. And so I'm really excited to be able to kind of show that group of individuals what we have to offer.
So how do you see this product growing over time, and what's kind of this next step for your team?
Yeah, what's really crazy is, what we're building is really going to be able to leverage and take advantage of all of the historical data, but also all the new and incoming data, right? And so, the 10th estimate is going to be more accurate than the first one, right? And so it's going to build over time. And companies begin to use our software and be able to leverage that existing growing data, they're really going to be able to have an impact and become more accurate, have more wins, and be able to leverage really one of the most valuable pieces of information that they have in a way that maybe they haven't been able to aspire.
So as we're looking at the industry as a whole, where do you see the biggest opportunities for innovation in the next couple of years?
I really think it's probably around this idea of data. I'm not I don't build the machinery type stuff, but I think from a technology perspective, I think data is going to really drive things. And so, the AI that we have today that everybody's curious about and ask me about, it's only possible because of the data that's being collected and been able to utilize. And so as we begin to see that grow and advance, it's all going to be centered around the data. And so the data that companies, gather and use, if they're able to leverage that, effectively, that's where I think the most innovation is going to come.
So along those lines, are you looking for people to bring some of their data to test out with the software at BCMC, or are you guys looking to make those connections after BCMC?
That's a great question. On our website today, we do have a place that someone can drop a set of plans and get AI to classify and categorize those plans. You give them a quick summary. It's just really a teaser of what AI is capable of. So if someone wants to see that today, they can definitely hop on our website and give that a try. I don't expect people to show up with, sets of plans to actually see jobs being estimated at the show, but we will definitely be demoing the software. And then anybody who wants to see something a little bit more personalized after the show, we'll definitely grab their information and be able to set that up in the days and weeks after the show.
I love that. That's a great spot for people to be able to go and kind of check you guys out before BCMC so they can come with any questions they might have from what they get back off of your website. So I think that's a great opportunity for people to check out so you can come to the show with your questions already made, and that way you can get the most out of your time. So to wrap things up a little bit, what advice would you give to other companies that might have an idea that they're passionate about but haven't quite taken the leap into development, or they haven't submitted for the innovation grant before?
Yeah, I wish I could have done some things differently in our software career here, but I think, a couple things is to try to narrow your idea down to the most basic level. And then, really talk to users as early as you can. Don't make the mistake of trying to build something and then go talk to people to see if that's what they want. You really have to be talking to people as you're building it. And then finally, don't wait for perfect, right? You're never going to have it ready and completed. You kind of have to be flying the plane, while you're building it. And, because things are moving so fast today with software development, if you try to build something completely and have it 100% perfect before you start trying to, release it and talk to customers, it's going to be kind of obsolete, I believe. And so you really have to have that feedback loop. And the best thing to do is just to talk to as many people as you can or as soon as you can.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Kenneth, for joining us. And I hope that everybody enjoyed this episode. If you did, you can like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And hopefully we'll see you guys at BCMC September 14th through the 18th in Columbus, Ohio. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time on Component Connection.
Thanks for listening to Component Connection, brought to you by SBCA. If there's a topic you'd like us to explore in a future episode, email us at podcast@sbcacomponents.com.